Hello, and welcome to
Hart and Hustle. You're the Hart.
I'm the Hart.
And I'm the Hustle.
We got that mixed up last week, and I didn't even realize it.
No one probably realized.
And you didn't even realize it. I don't think y'all even realized it.
Oh, I mean, you were hustling so much that you were the Hustle last week.
And then you can also be the Hart because you have, I feel like, have been there for me throughout this whole playoff process.
That was nice. I was wondering where this was going to go.
Yeah, no, you've been there for me throughout this whole playoff process because it's been It's been a lot the past couple of days. We are grinding right now. And you have been there for me, Pickle, and V&A as we're going through all this postseason stuff. So
been cramped. Like, we've had a lot of different shows. So we're double duty this week. As you can see, we have a special segment for this week. We're going to do This Week in Crootin on the show. And our Texas high school football state championship playoff breakdown, top prospects and names to know.
Yeah, I'm really excited because I think this is only the second time that I've ever gotten to do This Week in Recruiting with you when it's just me and you. I think we did this, I don't know, maybe a couple years ago.
Yeah, Pickle was out one time.
Pickle was out, so it was just me and you on TFT, and we got to do
that was fun. I remember when we did that.
Yeah, it was really fun. Maybe that's the thing that sparked my love.
Yeah, it was like where Hart and Hustle was born from.
Yeah, it really was. That's what that's where it stems from. Yeah, and then we went through and each picked a player from each classification that we wanted to talk about that could really make an impact, I feel like, on their team, on their respective teams during the 2024 Texas high school football playoffs. I don't know who you picked unless you picked on your.
We haven't shared our notes.
We haven't shared our notes.
So that'll be fun.
I know. I'm really excited. So, without further ado, shall we get into it?
All right, I got you.
I'm the Hart.
I'm the Hustle.
And it's This Week
in Crootin.
It's This Week in Recruiting, presented by our good friends at Chicken Express. Chicken Express.
Delicious friends at Chicken Express.
Our delicious
Ask me what I'd rate Chicken Express.
I can't even ask you because I know you're going to give them 5 stars.
5 stars for Chicken Express. Why? Because it's the most versatile of all of the fast food restaurants, right? It doesn't even seem like it's fast food, but the chicken tenders, the express pack is money. And I think the tenders in general is like the most versatile. That's the utility player of all foods. It's good on game day. It's good on a road trip. And let me ask you this. Would you go there on a first date?
Absolutely.
So what would you think if somebody took you on your first date to Chicken Express? Would you be pumped up for that, or would you be like,
I'd be asking for a second date.
Heck yeah.
That's exactly what I would be doing. Yeah. I mean, why would I not want to go to Chicken Express and get the spicy tenders with a sweet tea? And I always go back and forth on the mashed potatoes and the fries because they're both so good. I think it's just what I'm feeling in the moment. If I am feeling fries, I'll get the fries, but if I'm feeling mashed potatoes, I'll get the mashed potatoes.
So go get your Chicken Express and get 2 dates with Mallory Hartley. She said it.
Well, that's all you need. Take me to Chicken Express and I'm happy, right? Just take me to Chicken Express and I'm happy. All right, shall we get into it?
Let's do it.
All right, let's start with our prospect on the rise.
Yep.
Our prospect on the rise this week is North Crowley 2025 running back Daniel Bray. We actually talked about Daniel Bray a little bit when we broke down North Crowley their incredible ball club that they have over there. He's 5'9", 165 pounds, one of the state's top running backs, and I say that with confidence. He's a 3-star committed to SMU, which I think is a perfect fit for him as of right now. But he had offers from programs including Utah, Texas State, and a couple more there. One of the things that I recognize when I watch his tape is when he gets loose and he hits the green, he's gone. He is most likely going to end up in the end zone. One
of the things that has stayed true on his film, whether he was played at Abilene Cooper or now North Crowley, is that he runs with like a forward lean.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like he's always seems like he's going downhill. And he doesn't have like your traditional run. Like he's constantly shifting and moving. So he has a very unique running style. That's always been apparent on tape. Good burst in the hole, can make those long touchdown runs. But the way that he contorts his body and moves around makes it really difficult for defenders to get a clean shot on him. And I have really been impressed by what he's done in the passing game at North Crowley this season. You know, they like to get the running backs involved in the offense.
Yes.
And they have a couple of really good running backs because they also feature Cornelius Warren, class of 2025 3-star as well. So they have a
Chris
good
Jimerson too. He likes to run a little bit as well.
Good 1-2 punch there, but Daniel Bray is going to be bringing a little bit of versatility to the SMU offense, and that was a big pickup for SMU. Reason why he's prospect on the rise is that we bumped him into the top 10 running backs overall. He was in there originally, Abilene Cooper. Now that he's settled in at North Crowley, he's back in the rankings tops list where he belongs.
And I expect him to make a big splash. I feel like in the playoffs, North Crowley plays Byron Nelson this week in the first round of the Texas high school football playoffs.
Not an easy draw.
Definitely probably one of the better games in the state.
For sure.
I would say that game's going to be happening Saturday. You can watch it live on TexanLive.com actually. But definitely a guy to watch throughout the playoffs, I'd say. Great prospect on the rise.
Yeah, I like him. It's actually like a commitment notebook because all of our guys are committed this week.
Yeah, I know. I love that. All right, let's move on to, speaking of commits, the commit of the week. Our commit of the week is Fort Bend Ridge Point 2025 defensive back Gil Jackson. And the funniest thing about this is that we've already talked about him before on this show. Because just much like Daniel Bray, we talked about him.
He was in our Ridge Point breakdown.
He was in our Ridge Point breakdown, and he was at the time committed to Texas Tech. He recently this week flipped to TCU. Talk about him a little bit.
So 6'2", 175-pound cornerback. I really like his skills on the island. Long arms, very stable. Not a guy that gives up a lot of big plays. You can trust him in coverage, but he's built like a safety as well. Has some reps sometimes on tape playing safety, so he could probably play either spot at the next level. But if you can find a guy that is a big-bodied dude and you can leave him at corner, I think that's a higher value add for your roster. But he also has the flexibility to potentially play safety moving forward. I love the pickup for TCU. I liked it for Texas Tech. I know that Tech fans are probably a little sad to have lost one to an in-conference foe like TCU. But he's a teammate of TCU, now co-commit wide receiver Dane Jones. So there's a little bit of connection there. Of course, I mean, like, Ridge Point has connections everywhere.
Yeah, they're loaded.
Yeah, they're sending players all over. As a matter of fact, they were our number one most under-the-radar Texas high school football powerhouse when we did our rankings. So, like, they're right there at the upper echelon of sending players all over the country. So, I mean, Ridge Point knows a thing or two about talent, and Gil Jackson's one of the next in line, and he's now headed to TCU.
And this was actually one of the... this is their most recent pickup since August of 2024 for the Horned Frogs. They haven't.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. So it's been a little bit of a recruiting drought for them. So I think this absolutely helps a lot. And he'll be joining Brownsboro. Micah Strickland.
Yeah.
Brownsboro's Micah Strickland as well.
Both of those are big-bodied corners, so that is a good secondary.
They complement each other well.
Yeah, I think so too. And both are versatile. I mean, TCU just has a knack for developing under-the-radar defensive backs in Texas into future NFL players. So, I mean, could Jackson be next?
Yeah. All right, let's round it all out with the Underclassman of the week. Underclassman of the week. It's Winsboro 2025 wide receiver Camden Capehart. 5'8", 155-pounder, committed to Mississippi State over offers from North Texas, UTSA, Arizona State, Cal, and more. One of the state's fastest players, I'd say. I think you could agree with that a little bit more as well. Yeah,
no doubt about it. Like, he burst onto the scene and going in from his sophomore to junior year because he's so fast. As a matter of fact, he had a day where he played a baseball game. I think they won a baseball game. He ran a 10:08 100-meter at the regional finals. That was a wind-aided time, by the way. He ran a 10:44 at UIL State to capture the state championship. So whether it's 10:08 or 10:44, dude is blazing fast. And, like, offers started to pour in after that. I think he got 3 offers that day. I remember one of them was definitely North Texas, but offers continued to roll in. He took unofficial visit to Mississippi State. They were one of the schools that had stepped up early. He liked what he saw. He went ahead and pulled the trigger with an early commitment there to play in the SEC, and I think that he is a good fit in the Jeff Lebby offense because it will utilize his speed to open things up for other players.
Yes.
You can scheme around that type of speed within your offensive scheme. And I think that Hart is going to be one of those guys that he could be overlooked at times, I think, in the statewide rankings, but he's not going to be overlooked by us because we've seen him with our own two eyes and what he brings to the table. 1,000-yard receiver, so he's very productive.
Yeah, and what I liked about him when I was watching his tape, I watched his sophomore tape, actually, because I wanted to see him as a true underclassman.
That was a breakout season.
His breakout season was his sophomore year, and I felt like he really did display a lot of qualities of being an upperclassman, even as an underclassman. I mean, I think his yards after catch ability was really great in the way that he can maneuver himself within the backfield and kind of get open into those open spaces and create, distance between him and other defenders. He's slippery.
He's the go-to guy in their offense. He was the go-to guy in their offense as a sophomore, like the alpha. Right. And that's cool because he was a young player and he's just going to get better and better as he matures and grows. But I mean, you don't want to see him get too big. You want him to be fast, right?
Yeah.
That's his claim to fame. Let him be fast. Let him cook.
I love it. He's Greg Powers, he's Director of Recruiting at Dave Campbell's Texas Football. You can find all of his fine work on texasfootball.com/recruiting. That was fun.
That was fun. Here we go.
Part two.
Part two of
Hart and Hustle.
Yeah. Hart and Hustle. We're going to, what next? Like, talking playoffs? Do you want to go?
Let's do it. Let me change.
You want to go reverse order, like 1A to 6A, or you want to go 6A to 1A? Let's go. Start with 1A because you are actually. I'm going to dub
1A.
you. Yeah, you're the 1A.
That's Tepper.
You're the 1A.
Tepper's like the
expert today. I'm going to say you're the 1A guru. You like that?
Of the two of us.
Yeah, you're the 1A guru.
Yes. I think Tepper is the 1A guru in the office, but today between you and I am the 1A guru. Yes.
So
I like
know how to say Follette. You know how to say Balmorhea, right?
Well, you do too.
No, but you can. But I have something to admit.
Okay.
All right?
I'm scared. I don't know where this is going to go.
So this year, signing day doesn't happen the first games of state.
No, it does not.
Well, since the 6-man games have come to state, that Wednesday's been signing day, or it's been signing day right around state championship games. This will be my first 6-man action this year.
And I'm so excited.
Ever.
For you.
I've never in person watched a 6-man game.
And I'm so excited for you because they are truly, if you're not familiar with 6-man, there are a couple of, obviously there are 6 men on the field instead of 11 men. That's the biggest difference. But there's a couple of other changes too. It's a shorter field. The field goals are a little bit shorter, in terms of
narrower,
narrow field are. It's really fun because you see a lot of versatility, right? You see dudes who start at quarterback. They can also, be thrown the ball to, and they also start at corner, and they also start at maybe on the defensive line, or there's not really much.
I've never really,
but it's just a different type of game, So you got to keep that in mind when you're watching it. You can't expect to go out there and see an 11-man game, right? It's just the rules are a little bit different as well. There's actually a mercy rule.
Very pointy.
It's very pointy. There's not much of a defense. But there's also a mercy rule too. It's just I'm very excited for you to get that experience because it's a lot of fun.
Grayson Rigdon was really the first 6-man player that I've covered in Texas that had gotten an FBS offer when he was committed to Air Force when he was at Benjamin. But that being said, there's some players on the rise for fans to be excited about that names not only the Texas high school football world needs to know, but recruitniks need to know.
So that's actually a great transition into who I want to talk about first. So you mentioned Grayson Rigdon, how he used to play at Benjamin. He's now playing 11-man ball at Columbus. Has been a star there, as we kind of all expected. I mean, we knew he was elite at the 6-man level, but I don't know if there's a lot of people that thought he could do the same thing in 11-man ball, right? But I think we all kind of knew in the DCTF office.
I know one man who knew. Carter Yates.
He might be Grayson Rigdon's biggest fan.
He knew. He said, Greg, he's going to ball at Columbus, and he was right.
And he was right. He has done nothing but ball for the Columbus Cardinals this year alongside Adam Schobel. But on the other side of that, last year, I guess you didn't remember because you were not there, but Benjamin took on Oglesby in the 1A Division II state championship game. Benjamin ended up winning, of course.
Okay.
Great. Grayson Rigdon went off and stuff. But let's flip it to the Oglesby side. They have a guy named Kyler Fawcett. And he kind of plays, I'm sure you've probably heard of him before. Class of 2025. A little bit of running back, a little bit of linebacker. I think he's been put in at wide receiver a couple times. He does a little bit of everything. I'd say he's kind of like the athlete there. He is the star on that Oglesby team. I mean, like I said, he does a little bit of everything. Oglesby is one of the teams in 1A Division II that's in the mix to make it back to AT&T Stadium this year, and things are looking different because I think there's a more of an even level playing field because Grayson Rigdon is now playing 11-man ball. There's a lot of parity.
Opens it up for everybody else.
It does open it up a little bit. What I was most impressed by Kyler Fawcett last season, watching him take on this insane Benjamin team in the state championship games, was how well he was able to match up against Grayson Rigdon. I don't think that there had been a player at the 6-man level that really challenged Grayson Rigdon. And I think Kyler Fawcett was one of the first guys to actually do that. And of course, we know the outcome of that game. Yeah. Benjamin ended up winning, and I think Oglesby did get a little bit tired by the Grayson Rigdon show. But Kyler Fawcett, I think Grayson Rigdon would agree that Kyler Fawcett was one of those dudes that could step up and match his playmaking abilities. So of course he'll probably be back this year at AT&T. I don't want to say probably, could possibly be back at AT&T Stadium. We could watch him play for Oglesby again this year at AT&T Stadium. But definitely a name that you should keep your eye on at the 1A level. Kyler Fawcett, Oglesby 2025. I'm going to call him an athlete because he's an athlete.
Your alma mater got involved with one of the top 6-man stars by extending them an offer this week.
Which is a great transition into who I want to talk about next. Let's move on to 1A Division I. It's Gordon 2026 athlete Rye Reed, and you are absolutely right. He picked up his first Division I offer from the University of North Texas on Saturday. I mean, this was before, I bet you he went to the Army game. I would assume so because we had a home game that day. But I remember standing here, and after I had announced the 1A Division I brackets, Tepper actually brought it up and was like, "Oh, talking about Gordon and right. Rye Reed, the star of the show there." And he was like, "He actually just picked up a Division I offer from the University of North Texas." And I was like, "No kidding, that rocks!" But he's
perfect timing.
Perfect timing. He's so much fun to watch. And talking about Gordon for a little bit, definitely one of the teams that is favored to make it back to AT&T Stadium and probably win the whole thing. This team has been absolutely unstoppable this year. They've only allowed 34 points the entire season. And again, that's through 10 games. And they've scored over 50 every single game.
That's crazy.
And Rye Reed has been obviously a big part to that. But again, picked up his first Division I offer from UNT this weekend. He is absolutely one to watch in the 1A Division I playoffs coming up.
Well, I'm excited about that. Like, I didn't expect to roll into the 1A games this year and have like
players to watch, right?
Like a potential recruit to cover. So, yeah. I mean, I pick my games based on who could I potentially interview at the state championship game. So I got my fingers crossed for your 2 picks right here, so maybe we can throw them some coverage their way.
I love that.
It'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, I need to go meet Rye Reed. I need to go down there and be like, "Hey, noted UNT fan and alum, Mallory Hartley, nice to meet you."
I went old school.
You did go old school.
For my brackets and notes,
you did what we want everybody to do.
I would say that I printed my brackets off and I filled out 50% of it throughout it. Some games I didn't pick because I was like, why do I have to pick that game? I don't know who I want to pick there, so I'm just not going to pick it. And then I picked some of the other champions as well. So my brackets are in disarray. But it helps me to like track, when could I see recruits and where could I see recruits throughout the course of the playoffs?
Well, that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to go to texasfootball.com/playoffs and print out our printable brackets to fill yours out.
I start dreaming about like where will these games be played too, doing the triangulation theory of like, this game, this one's from Houston, and this one's from Austin, and they could potentially play here, and that's X amount of miles away from my house. I could see that game maybe in the third round. Then somebody wins, and your dreams are dashed. But we'll see how it plays out. Yeah. So I guess we're going to go to two. Let's in that reverse order that we're using, going from 1A to 6A, talking about some of the top players in the Texas high school football playoffs. Not only the top rated players, but maybe players like who could be the ones to watch. Who could win it all.
Right.
Be the MVP.
Yes.
Or be like a huge difference maker on their team.
Yes.
So there's a reason why we picked these guys. In 2A Division II, so we also published the top prospects in the Texas high school football playoffs on texasfootball.com as well. You can check that out. That is literally a list of the highest rated player in each bracket and the second highest rated player.
Yeah.
So the criteria for that was who's rated the highest in the rankings. So that's why you'll go. So we'll go kind of through the list here. I'm going to start 2A Division II. Since you already did 1A, I'm going to give my pick first.
Okay.
I'm going to go with West Sabine wide receiver Jacoby Harris.
I like that pick.
6'2", 175 pounds. I really think this is one of the teams that could potentially pull some upsets throughout the course of bracket play because they have a very talented offense. The running back is really good. The quarterback is really good. But I think that Harris is like the secret weapon. There's not a lot of guys at the 2A D2 level that possess his size and speed combination. So he's the type of player that I feel like, because of all the pieces around him are pretty good as well, could take off in the playoffs and like be one of those names that people will know about.
Yeah, I like that a lot. How did you come up with that pick?
I watched a lot of tape to do this, and
because we be watching tape when we're doing this.
Yeah, so I did watch a lot of tape to come up with the top prospects list, and to me, like, he was one of the risers based on what he did on the field this year and like the intangibles that he brings to the table. There's some really good players to watch in this bracket, though.
There are a ton of them, and I actually had a tough time picking players for this segment anyways, but 2A I absolutely. Okay, actually, let me reverse that. 2A, I knew exactly who I was talking about. The rest of them I had a harder time to pick, but 2A...
Sometimes you're like arguing with yourself on who you're going to pick.
I know. I'm like, okay, there's a lot of good players in the state, and it's really tough sometimes. But for Class 2A, specifically 2A Division I, I went with Sunray quarterback Armando Lujan.
There you go.
He's one of our dudes, I think. He is one of our dudes. We are a big fans here at the Dave Campbell's Texas football offices of Armando Lujan. Have you watched him play a game?
Oh, for sure. And we watched him at the state 7-on-7. That was the first player I went and watched right out of the gate.
I didn't know
because
that.
Because he's like a DCTF office favorite, right?
Like, so you're like, everyone's talking about him. Like, I got to go watch him, right? Yeah.
And the reason that is because they score so many points.
Oh, yeah. Because of him. He is one of the most prolific passers in the entire state of Texas, regardless of classification. He is reaching. I think he has surpassed the 13,000 career passing yard mark. Yeah. But he is reaching to break state records at this point. He is so good. I think he's got 160 plus passing touchdowns in his career at his time at Sunray. Just an absolute gunslinger. He's a baller. So
in that bracket, I picked the state championship game Sunray and Refugio because I'm hopeful for a wheels-off 62-61 thriller that could potentially bring us. That would be so much fun. But it's there's some pretty good players in this bracket too. Ryelan Morris, a Baylor commit, was the
Orange Grove,
the top rated or the most highly rated prospect in the 2A Division I playoff bracket. And then of course the younger brother of Jacoby Williams, who is getting playing time and a lot of it at Texas Tech as a freshman. Yeah. His younger brother Jordan Prince at Beckville. They didn't miss a beat after losing Jacoby Williams, in large part due to Prince stepping in there. So those were a couple more names in 2A Division I.
Yeah, I had kind of a tough time with that. Because
there was 2A.
On to the next. But I did have a tough time with that, just picking all these players. I mean, I only picked one for each class, but Armando Lujan was the one that stood out to me. I actually picked, I don't want to admit this while I'm talking about Armando Lujan, but I actually picked Stanford to come out of Region 1. 282 Region 281, excuse me, Region 1.
Now you've diversified your profile now.
Yes.
Your portfolio.
Yes.
Now you've hedged your bet a little bit now to talk about Armando Lujan.
Yes.
You covered yourself.
Yeah. But that's also the thing too, was like, I could totally see Sunray beating Stanford. You have to go with one. Tepper forced me to make these picks, so I had to go with one, and I picked Stanford. The boss. Right. I also picked Stanford to win 2A Division I, but I could totally see it going the other way. Sunray has looked absolutely unstoppable this year. They're undefeated, first of all.
Yeah.
And this is their schedule has been impressive too. Their resume that they have built up to this point has been super, super impressive.
I feel like
Stratford, Canadian, Childress, you can even throw in there. They beat Panhandle, who's ranked. They're ready for the playoffs.
Now look, I already picked Sunray.
I know you did.
I can't go back now. I've already committed.
No, I'm talking about Sunray.
I know. I'm already locked in.
Yeah, I know.
So I'm on the Sunray bandwagon, but I'm with you. I could easily see either one of those two teams winning the state championship or making it to the state championship, because I did pick Refugio to win it all. So, I mean,
it'll be interesting.
I don't think anyone else picked that one. So that was my
No, you were the only one. Yeah.
All right, on to 3A Division II. I'm interested for your pick.
You want to go first?
Yeah, I want you to go first on 3A Division II.
I'm going Gunner.
Okay.
Can you guess who I'm going from Gunner?
Colin Peacock.
How did you know?
Well, I mean, because he came and committed, or he did his commitment on TexanLive.com.
And he's one of those dudes that rock.
Yeah, for sure.
He was the defensive MVP last year when Gunner won state. They're going for a three-peat this year. Will absolutely not be slowing down. I actually picked them to win 3A. I think all of us picked them to win 3A D2. Is that correct? All six of us?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I think we were clean across the board there. Yeah.
I think it was one of the only ones where everybody was on the same page on that one.
Yeah, but
I do think it's a little bit more wide open.
Oh, yeah.
Than it was last year. I think Gunner was the prohibitive favorite last year, and I think they're the favorite this year, but I think there are a lot of teams who could challenge them.
But here's also the thing, too, because when you look at Gunner's resume, you see those two losses, and you're not used to seeing that when it comes to Gunner. You're used to seeing them just mollywhopping people. Yep. But they have played. I mean, they played Salina. Like, they play way up, So it's like, because they want to get challenged. They want to be challenged and get ready for the Texas high school football playoffs. But anyways, back to Colin Peacock, the safety there for Gunner, who is committed to play for Baylor next season, class of 2025. Really fun defensive player to watch. He also plays a bit at wide receiver as well, so he's very versatile there, but he is going to play safety at Baylor. Great reads on opposing offenses.
Strong.
Very strong. Very, very strong. Shifty. He's great. He's really fast and great in coverage as well. I think that he is going to give opposing offenses a very hard time, like he has done in years past, but I think he's going to give opposing offenses a very tough time in their playoff run this year.
No doubt about it. He's like a team leader.
He's a team leader as well.
Dependable.
Very, very dependable.
Luke Babin, 6'2", 185 pound, 2027 quarterback is like my name to watch in 3A Division II. Just a name to know, throwing a little bit of a name to know. Going on to 3A Division I, and I was wrestling with this one, to be honest with you.
Okay.
Because I really like Palestine Westwood 2027 quarterback. Kavian KJ Bryant.
I knew you were going for that.
I know he's really good, but the top prospect in this bracket is quarterback Adam Schobel from Columbus. And I did pick Columbus to go to the state championship game. So as it relates to like the importance of one player on one team, how important are they in this playoff run, I have to pick Adam Schobel. And I think that because his dad is the head coach at Columbus as well, there's a little bit of extra added pressure for each and every snap that he takes. So I feel like everything that Columbus does now is underneath the microscope because Schobel has had such a tremendous career there. He's Mr. Dependable. You can just go ahead and pencil him down for over 2,500
yards every single year.
Every year it's going to be over 2,500 yards, 2,500 yards. This year it's probably going to be more because I expect him to play more games.
Yes,
but
correct.
Those two quarterbacks will probably match up with one another in the second round. So you have Palestine Westwood potentially taking on Columbus if they can, advance past their first games in round number 2. And that is a tremendous second round game. So Columbus's path to winning a state championship is littered with landmines, but
it really is. And I think that is one of the reasons why I didn't take Columbus. To be fair, I picked Columbus out of Region 3, but I did not pick them as my state champion. I picked Malakoff.
Gotcha.
I think just point blank, I think I trust Malakoff's defense a little bit more than I trust Columbus's defense. So if they do go head to head, I think that Malakoff could get that last stop if needed.
Right.
They're also, both teams are very pointy. I don't think either team is going to have issues with putting up points, but I think Malakoff's defense gives them a little bit of the edge if it were to come down to that matchup.
Who'd you pick in this one? Who was the name that you jotted down in 3A D1? Did you have a...
I didn't pick like 3A. I just picked one player.
Gotcha.
Colin Peacock was my...
Colin Peacock was your guy.
But, if I'm going off of the fly here, Mike Jones, Malakoff quarterback. Who?
I think a sleeper in this one is Cameron Williams from Jefferson. And they could match up with Malakoff, and that is juicy too.
That's very juicy.
Because you would have Cam versus Mike Jones, like running back versus quarterback. And that could be like one of the bracket's like biggest games.
Yeah.
Where they slated to potentially match up if they were to play each other.
Going back to Mike Jones real quick. Speaking of Mr. Dependable.
I threw the bracket down. I'm like, where are they at? And I'm like, well, it's on the ground. Anyway.
You make me laugh.
Sorry.
I don't even remember what
Back to business.
I don't remember. I was going to say last note on 3A because I do have ROF in a very short amount of time.
Where are we at? What?
Back to Mike Jones before we get more off track here. That's one of our problems on this podcast is that we get
we just
sidetracked.
We made it. We're halfway done.
Correct. Again, I think another really good quarterback matchup, Adam Schobel, Mike Jones. Just like Adam Schobel, I think Mike Jones is Mr. Dependable. He is kind of like that lifeline of the Malakoff team. He's been the leader the past couple years. I think they could go back and do it again this year. But who knows? I really am rooting for a Malakoff-Columbus matchup.
There's no Doc Remberg.
There's no Doc Remberg.
So, I mean,
Doc Remberg rocks.
They do have to account for that.
I know. I remember watching him play Brock last year because we all went to the state semifinal game. Dude was electric. And I forced you to make a profile. No, I forced Carter to make a profile on Doc Remberg.
He's memorialized on Dave Campbell's Texas football forever.
Shout out
4A. We're going on to 4A here. We got 4A Division 1 and 4A Division 2.
I had 482.
All right. So in 4A Division 1, I'm going with Lance Jackson. You'll see him here. Yeah. He's the highest rated player. If Pleasant Grove is to pull some upsets, and I would say that they would be an underdog in a potential regional semifinals matchup versus Carthage, they need somebody like Lance Jackson to really assert his dominance, and he can do that. Texas commit, 6'5", 245 pounds. He's a two-way star for them. He plays defensive end. He'll flip over and add some versatility by playing tight end on offense, where he also opens up huge lanes as a run blocker. He's not only a pass catcher that can stretch the field, he's very dominant at the point of attack. But make no mistake, like if they're going to win, they need him on the defensive side of the ball, terrorizing Jet Surratt in that game. He has to keep constant pressure on him. And I think he can do that. So, I mean, that could be PG's trump card in this bracket. Not a lot of people are picking it, but I think this PG team is sneaky tough. They lost a lot of talent off of last year's team, and sometimes that brings the guys a little bit closer together, and they have to realize that they have to play with a different mentality. And does this PG team have it?
This dude has tremendous college upside too, because he's the younger brother of Landon Jackson, who is at
Arkansas
right now. I almost said Arkansas, but I was like, I want to make sure that
he committed to LSU out of high school, transferred to Arkansas, and depending on which mock you look at, could be a potential first-round draft pick this April.
Definitely a dude to watch there. Great pick. I like that pick a lot. I know you've always been high on him. Speaking of Carthage, who do you think I picked from Carthage? You've not said his name.
I'm going to say KJ Edwards.
How did you know?
Because he's a baller.
KJ Edwards is so much fun to watch. Very explosive. I think that is one of the words that I would describe KJ Edwards. Very slippery too when he gets loose. I mean, he is bound to make a guy miss almost on every play. Every time he touches the ball, he's bound to make you miss, right?
He's not the tallest back, but he hides behind those big Carthage linemen and then boom.
And then the explosion takes over, right? Yeah, he's 5'9", I think 185 or something, 190 like that. So is a little bit undersized, I feel like, for a back like that. But again, I think he plays with upside as well. I think he plays above his weight class in his height as well. 26 offers from programs like Michigan, Georgia, Ole Miss. He's only class of 2026, so he hasn't committed anywhere yet. But I think that he gives this Carthage offense that extra type of explosion, in addition to Jet Surratt that we just talked about. He gives that offense kind of a two-dimensional feel.
I agree 100%. He's also a tremendous pass-catching weapon out of the backfield for them, like an escape valve. So to speak, for Surratt. While we're talking about him, I'm going to give my first official Dave Campbell's Texas football acknowledgement to class of 2028 prospect at Carthage, J.D. Edwards, who's KJ's little brother, is already starting to pick up recruiting attention in his own right. So why not go ahead and mention him right now so we can start to get the exposure on him early. He's already got a couple of offers and got called up to the varsity team already at Carthage, just like KJ did around the same time whenever he was a freshman. So somebody maybe to keep your eye on. But before we go on to 5A, just to mention a couple of players in 4A D1, Bo Bentley at Salina. You've got Jaden Sanders at Kilgore. And then the highest rated prospect that we had noted down in that classification was Jalen Lott at Panther Creek, who is one of the most heavily offered players in the country with 35 scholarship offers. So somebody to some of those 4A D1 players just to keep your eye on, as they're very important to their team's playoff success or potential playoff successful runs.
Who did you pick in 482?
482 was Lance Jackson.
No. As state champion.
So I picked Carthage to win 482.
Okay, I did too. I don't remember I couldn't remember if that was the one that we were all in lockstep in, but
the region I struggled with was Region 3.
Who did you pick 481?
481, I picked Salina.
I did too.
Over Kilgore.
I think we might have all been in lockstep with that one as well. I think we all picked Salina, or most of us did. I can't remember. Anyways, 5A.
5A. Do you want to lead off here with your pick?
No, you lead off.
All right. 5A. I'm going to go.
It's a guy you did not put on your list.
I know, but I'm going to stick to my list. I think that this player is the most important. This player has to pop off if this team's going to win it all. All right, that's who I'm going to pick. They have to pop off. I'm going to go with Landon Williams-Callis.
Okay.
At Richmond Randall in 5A Division II.
I picked them to win 582.
I think Caden Finley is very important to Aledo.
Yes.
Right?
100%.
They have some good weapons, but if they're going to win it all, Caden Finley really needs to play well. But I don't feel like Richmond Randall has a shot unless Landon Williams-Callis plays pretty good every game. They have a very difficult path to the state championship game, but they have been unbelievable this season. I don't like to, this isn't a comparison, but when I talk about Landon Williams-Callis' game, I always talk about Barry Sanders because the way that they move in the open field is remarkably similar, especially at the high school level where Lennon Williams-Callis is almost completely hard to bottle up or tackle in the phone booth. Very dodgy, swift, great feet. Good top end speed. He was at the UIL state track meet this year, so he has the ability to, if he does get in open space, to cash it in. So that's why I picked Landon Williams-Callis, is just because he's one of the top players, closing in on 40 offers, but he has to produce.
I completely agree with you. I picked Richmond Randall solely because of him, thinking that he is most likely going to go off in the playoffs, and that's literally the reason. I also just really like this team. I think they're a complete team. They've looked completely solid this year, in large part due to him.
When I was picking my player and I was like describing like what type of player I was going to pick, I could see in your eyes that you thought maybe I was going to pick your player too.
I did.
So who did you pick? Because they must be very similar to, like, in description to the player I picked.
Very similar in a way to where if they want to have a shot, he needs to like not miss a beat, right? Lovejoy, wide receiver, Dalen McCutcheon.
Yes.
Do you agree?
Yeah, yes. I do.
I think that 5A D2 Region 1 is insane. I just want to start off by saying that. Argyle, Panther Creek, throw Anna in the mix, Lubbock Cooper, Lovejoy. I think it could be really anyone's game. I picked Argyle out of Region 1, but I think that at any point in time there can be an upset.
I agree.
And I think Todd Dodge has him rolling right now. But Dalen McCutcheon needs to absolutely go off.
So in the game that we did on TexanLive.com, we had the Melissa Lovejoy game.
That's right.
And I got to be a part of the call for that game. I think Dalen McCutcheon was the reason why Lovejoy won that game. I mean, everybody played really well. RJ McIntosh had 2 interceptions. So, I mean, you can't discount what he did. But he was out in the second half due to an injury. So Dalen McCutcheon kind of took over, and he's like one of those receivers who does everything.
Yes, he does. He's very quick on his feet when changing direction. He can go up and get those 50-50 balls. He's a high production type player. I mean, he's going to produce in any given game. In any given game. God, that was hard to say. And he's got strong hands too. Really, really strong hands. He can pull in those really tough catches and compete for those tough passes. He has to go off if Lovejoy,
I agree,
wants to get out of that gauntlet of a Region 1. And I think he
absolutely
could, because they're going to have to score. Yes, they're going to have to score. So that was my player.
Denton Ryan's Ty Haywood was the highest rated prospect in all of 5A.
I like it. I like it.
There you go.
We're big Ty Haywood fans here.
6A. Did you go 6A D2 or 6A D1?
D2. Can you guess who it is? I talked about him actually in the office earlier. I'm
going to let you spoil the surprise because
it's hard to guess in 6A.
Well, 6A D2 particularly was like the tightest battle for who the top overall prospect was, and the top overall prospect was Willis's Jermaine Bishop, or the highest graded. But that's heavily debatable.
Right.
I feel like some of the rankings aren't finalized in some of those younger classifications, and there were a lot of like 2025 guys who were pretty good in this class.
Yeah. I went with Ethan Feaster.
Okay.
DeSoto, wide receiver, class of 2027. I think you kind of have to. He's like the number 1 overall prospect in the class of 2025, and the only freshman 2027. Sorry, I just said 2027, but you said 2025.
I said 2025.
And I got 2027. Let me make that very clear. But he was the first freshman to ever receive 5 stars from the DCTF rankings.
Let's go.
From you. So that's also why I picked him.
DeAndre Tiger Ryden, very important to them, and they got Myson Johnson Cook is cooking. So he's been doing really well. So DeSoto has a plethora of really talented stars. I think Feaster is going to have a good playoff.
And I think they really need him too.
Yeah.
As well. I mean, they need a high production
Open things
out
up,
of him.
Give Keldon Ryan some deep options. Because he's dangerous as a runner. So the more you can spread him out, the more dangerous DeSoto is going to be. A potential showdown with Willis in the regional semis is like a must-see TV.
That's box office.
We got
right
that game on Texan Live last year, I know because I watched it. So that was a great game. DJ Lagway kept Willis in the game early, but DeSoto ended up putting 62 on him, I think, by the time it was all said and done.
That quarterback matchup was so fun, too. DJ Bailey versus DJ Lagway.
So Dakorien Moore, you can see him. He's the highest rated prospect playing in the state championship, any of the state championship brackets this year. The number one player in the state, edging out really talented list, because at number 2 is Devin Sanchez. And
Ohio State commit. Yes, I know. You always have to mention the Ohio State commit. No,
so
Devin Sanchez rocks.
Devin Sanchez and Dakorien Moore have a history of playing against one another in the state championship games. Last year, they really didn't go up against one another. Dakorien was on the same side as him, but sometimes lined up in the slot in that game. And Devin really had a dominant state championship game in the loss, not really giving up. I can't recall any catches on like him in particular in coverage, but Dakorien Moore also had a pretty good game. He is the number one player because he attacks every play. Oh, yeah. Like it's going to be the last play that he ever plays.
I remember I think Mike Craven ended up going to the Duncanville DeSoto game this year, and I remember him sitting in the Slack there's a reason he's the number one player in the state, because he does that in big time games as well.
He's a tremendous. I love to watch him block.
Yeah,
that's just fun. Like when you go out and watch a top rated prospect, and every play, no matter whether they're getting the ball or not, is a highlight worthy play, then you know that you have something special. Yeah. But on the flip side of that, Devin Sanchez's leadership on North Shore's defense, remarkable. He's really grown into that. I really like the fact that he plays with a chip on his shoulder. Even though he's a bigger bodied corner, like he has an underdog's mentality on the field. Even though he's been at the top of the rankings list, he hasn't let that get to his head or bring him down or anything like that.
Hasn't slowed him down
Slow him down, not slow him down at all. So I like what Devin Sanchez is bringing to the table. Those two teams are loaded, but I mean, 6A Division I, we could do a whole show just on talking about players on those teams.
We really could. And
we don't have time for that.
A lot of them come from Duncanville, I'd say, too. With Keelan Russell there at quarterback, I picked them to win 6A D1.
I picked them to win as well. A team that I feel like, no one's sleeping on them. I think we picked across the board was Austin Westlake.
Yeah, that was out of Region 4.
They're pretty talented.
We picked them out of Region 4.
Reese Weiss is a very important player as it relates to this bracket.
They dominate in the trenches as well, too. Which could pay dividends if they do make it to the state title game.
Yeah, both sides of the ball. Their defensive front is not only talented, but deep. Yeah. So they do good rotation there. Could be Tony Salazar's year. We'll find out. All we have to do is
could be.
What?
Got to wait 6 more weeks.
Got to wait 6 more weeks for the Texas high school football playoffs. But there are some names you should watch. Yeah. Some top breakout stars and potentially some of the top rated names playing throughout the Texas high school football state championships. And that's why we do it every week on Hart and Hessel, talking Texas teams and Texas talents with the Hart.
He's the hustle.
Mallory Hartley. Thanks.
This is a lot of fun.
Let's do it again sometime.
Like next week?
You want to keep doing
week 2 of the Texas.
You want to do Hart and Hustle? You want to keep
doing this thing?
Yeah, we'll do it.
I like it. We'll see you guys next Thursday.